Welcome to Go For Your Life. Thank you so much for tuning in and giving me your listening ears. Woohoo! This is a podcast for everyone, about everything, and it's to encourage, inspire, uplift you to go for your life. And it is presented and hosted by myself, Caro, and my sweet dog, Sparky. Give it up for him. I hope you're ready. Enjoy.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Go For Your Life. And this time we're going from Amsterdam to Munich, right? What are you doing? To München. München, ja.
München.
Ja.
Genau so.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited that we're doing this.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Finally.
We tried a while back to do it from Greece, and then it didn't work. And now we have a Munich Amsterdam connection, and seems fine. So yeah, Cherryl, thank you so much for being here from the Conscious Lab. But you're doing a lot of different things as well. Like you're not just the Conscious Lab. But I'd love to talk about that a little bit. But maybe would you like to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us who you are, what you do?
Well, actually, I would love to just be the Conscious Lab. That would be great. But yeah, we're not quite there yet. So for a little bit longer, I have to be Cherryl Duncan as well.
Yeah.
So that is who I am. And I am originally from South Africa. I moved to Germany 8 years ago, to Munich. And I used to own a yoga studio in South Africa. And I think that's basically how I came into the realm of yoga really, really quickly. Sorry, there's just a delivery. It's always so distracting. Home office, right? Anyway, so I think that's a good place to start. So I had a yoga studio in South Africa. I moved to Germany. Of course, I didn't just open a yoga studio in Germany. It's not as easy, especially when you're in a completely foreign country, you don't know anybody. And so what I did was it felt like back to square one, where I was teaching in yoga studios. I was building up a private yoga base. And during that time, about 18 months after I had been here, things got really, really, really tough. Really tough. I didn't know if I was going to be able to stay in Germany. I had immigration issue. I was really, really all over the place. And, surviving as a yoga teacher, freelance yoga teacher as an immigrant in Germany was, a very, very tough situation. And what happened in that time is I thought, oh, well, this is what you trained for. This is, life has now gotten tough. Let's do all the yoga, all the pranayama, all the meditation, all the fancy philosophies that you've learned for the last, 13 years. And I have to tell you that nothing worked. Nothing worked. I was just freaking out. No amount of meditation was going to solve my immigration issue. No amount of yoga was going to solve the fact that I needed to make enough money to, pay rent in Germany and taxes and whatnot. So what I did was I threw everything out, actually. I was like, okay, what if I believe nothing? What if I believe absolutely nothing and start from the beginning and authentically test each and every single one of the things that I've learned and then figure out what actually works in a situation like this? Because it's very easy to practice yoga when everything's going right. It's great.
For sure.
Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Like super. So what I did was through that process, I figured out what was authentically valuable for me within the whole spectrum of yoga. And I created a system of yoga called Dharmakaya yoga, kind of based on a couple of anchors. One of them was authenticity. It was based on a book that I also wrote about how to be authentic. That became a really, really important fundament for me in terms of teaching yoga from a place of real authenticity. And kind of really bringing yoga into the real life context.
Yeah.
Like, how is this going to work? And I threw out a whole bunch of other things that I didn't feel was authentic for me. And then what started happening was I started teaching from this place, and a lot of people started coming to me. And then some people started to ask me how they could teach this method. And then I created a more systemized.
Yeah, good word.
Is that a word? Method in this. And then I kind of built a little bit of a following from there. And that kind of evolved more into a coaching. And I think you also did a little bit of kind of life coaching, and because it was a natural progression, right? You're teaching yoga, people are coming to you. You start. Exactly.
Coach. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, because I obviously like to put everything into a method, I then created a 10-week program to self-mastery, and I started incorporating more of these ideas in terms of a coaching session and yoga all into a self-development program, I guess, where it wasn't just like, here's the ideas, here's the yoga practice, brought them all together.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, what, yoga teacher, coach, who knows, and then and I did that for, I guess, the 7 years that I was in Munich. And then at the start of the whole global pandemic thing, obviously I was massively affected. I could see that I was going to be massively affected. And I thought, okay, here is a great opportunity to do what I always wanted to do, which was create a community, a brand, something that goes beyond, to be very honest, having to just sell exclusively my time, because I just got a bit tired. And that's how the Conscious App was born. And and that's, I think, the kind of history of how I got here.
And I think it's really beautiful what you're saying as well. It sounds like you were always kind of reacting in the moment, like, okay, so this is what's happening. It's tough now. What am I gonna do? Like, and you're trying all these things, and this is not working. And I think that a lot of people probably would have given up in your situation, but it's good to hear that and I think that that's also a really, like, to have that reality check. I think many people, when they hear yoga, they think of lotuses and like sitting on I don't know, in a cave somewhere, and oh my god, everything's amazing, or in India or Ibiza, or but
exactly.
It is how do we deal with this with our daily lives, so I think that's really amazing. Because how long have you been now altogether in the yoga industry? Like around over 10 years?
16 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot.
I'm like a grandmother.
Getting there.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool. Because for me, like, when I look at the Conscious Lab, even now, so now, because I sometimes jokingly call it COVID-19, 20 and 21, because I mean it just keeps going. It's just one of those things. It's like, so you had an initial response of doing this, and it was an online platform, and I mean we even spoke about it, that now it's changing again, like the need of people is changing again, because as you know, like we are doing this meeting on Zoom, but many people are getting like just so sick of being online. Because how are you seeing the change now? Because you've been going for probably a year and a half now then, or something.
Yes. And that is a great question. Yeah, exactly. So it started with the need for routine and community. And I recognized that there were people, do you remember when it all started? There was this big topic of like, how do I structure my day? There seemed to be like, and for people that have been working for themselves forever, like, what? How to structure your day? This is a problem,
This is what we do. Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, well, let me help you with that. That's easy for me. It starts with a yoga and meditation practice and let me bring you in on my own practice.
Yeah.
And so I kind of gave up my own and started showing up at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:15 for people. And this was incredible. I still have people showing up every single day, well, Monday to Friday since the beginning. And it was a place and a start for them, and then the community. And of course, they couldn't go to yoga studios. And so that's how it started. And then from there, I thought, okay, hey, let me build this into a whole thing. Start offering yoga later in the day, starting offering guided meditation practices. Then I brought some psychologists on to do mental health work with people. And then it kind of evolved into beyond a yoga platform and more into a place where people can experience some connection to elevating their consciousness on whatever level, whatever avenue is good for them. And then, of course, the community aspect became very important. How I see it changing now is, of course, and especially in summer, there was like, I can't stand another online Zoom call. I've been on Zoom calls all day. And yeah, of course, and nothing can replace the human experience. I'll always, I mean, maybe if we go into some virtual reality space, we'll be able to replicate that. But yeah. I think it's going to become a hybrid. I think it's here to stay.
Yeah.
So I think people are really enjoying the convenience of it. Yeah. They love the fact that it's saving them time. It's huge. I mean, just think about the days when you used to go and do a 90-minute yoga practice in a yoga studio. I mean, it was 3 hours of your day.
Yeah.
To get there and change. And I think, where did I have 3 hours?
Yeah.
And I think that's true for a lot of people. I don't think it's a great thing also having said that, because I think people are more busy than somehow they used to be.
Yeah.
So I think it's here to stay. I think it's going to be a hybrid. I think people will still want to do online, in-person stuff, but they'll do it less. So I think they'll make it more of an event than part of their routine.
Yeah. And also, because I think that's also something that is interesting from what you're saying, is like you kind of created that routine and then people are used to a routine. And then it's kind of, I mean, I even see that with me as well. I mean, when it first started, I called them my yoga marathons. Like I was only like, my teacher in Australia, and then like Rima in New York, and then, like in all these different time zones. I mean, there were times where I was still like practicing at like 1 a.m. because my teacher in Australia, he was only having his classes on at certain times. And I was like, okay, well, and I really was not doing anything else because we were just inside, so I was like, okay, well, I can do that. But now, I mean, I'm also still very used to, just being on Zoom and doing my classes this way. Like, it's actually difficult for me to find a studio here actually where I can, I mean, I have an Iyengar studio that I go to myself, but there is not, and also me, I got used to it too. So I think that there is something to say about people still wanting it and still coming online to do it. But for you, for you personally, like, have you seen a change for yourself as well, like with Conscious Lab, like how it was when you first initially started and where it is now?
Yes, in the beginning, as it's evolved, in the beginning, there was this attitude of, we're so thankful and we're so grateful. Yeah. And there was a lot of forgiveness around all the mistakes as I was building it. And now it's really kind of professionalized, because I got a developer on board and I got a marketing person, and it's a growing business, right? And now it's like, now we're used to it. And now the level of, this is not working, or like, what about this? And I'm suddenly feeling like it started out as kind of like this community offering to like, oh wow, this is like, you better show up because people are like
the expectations got a lot higher.
Yes, absolutely. So I see that more as part of the evolution, and but now it feels a lot more serious. People, the community has also grown. And so it's a little bit more, expectation is a little bit more stressful. Like, so now if my internet connection is not working, if I'm in Austria or somewhere at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm like super stressed.
I know.
Before it was like, sorry guys, internet not working, see you tomorrow, you know?
Yeah. Because are you back to teaching in real life?
No, just privately, and it's becoming less and less as I spend more time building this. But I really would love to create events that a little bit more planning, and but I'm not actually teaching public
IRL
at the moment.
IRL.
No, IRL, exactly.
I remember the first time I got that message, I was like, IRL, and I was like, oh my god, in real life. Okay, I got it now. Like, this is crazy. It's now all like about like, oh, but is that IRL or is it or even when I say like, it's live, it's like, oh, it's live. It's like, well, it's live on Zoom.
It's live. Yeah.
Like, but is it live or is it
Totally.
Zoom live or is it like because
I had someone show up at my place the other day for coaching, and I was like, I thought we were online. What are you doing here? Like,
That's not live. That's what live is anymore. Live is just Zoom. Zoom is live.
Exactly.
It's crazy, and I think it is like interesting. Also, for me, I felt when it first started happening, it's even just like getting to know these platforms, or having people like old people like on Zoom, and it's this kind of an amazing, because now Zooming is like, it's in our grammar even, like, let's Zoom, or like, I'll be Zooming, and, go to Zoomtopia. Normal thing. But, it's just,
it's part of our language. And I think a lot of people have had to up their tech game. I know, certainly for me, and I see that as a good thing. I think, I mean, it's sad that we're losing a little bit of human connection, but I'm not against technology. I think if you can get better at technology, you're participating. That's how it is.
It sounds like Conscious Lab was something that you already wanted to build, or was something that you already wanted to do, even if it wasn't for pandemic times, right? Like, you wanted to, or would it not have happened if it wasn't for Corona happening?
Yeah, I was actually very close before the pandemic to opening a yoga studio.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was so glad that I didn't, honestly. So I think absolutely. So I think what I wanted was to create a community. What I wanted was to create another voice in the world of yoga. And maybe I'll explain a little bit what I mean. So these two things I already wanted to do, and because I felt there was a need for it, but the difference was the online element, and that was because of the pandemic. I don't think that I would have tried to create it in real life, I think. IRL.
That's really, because I think why I kind of also wanted to reach out with you and want to have this conversation as well is also because I, through Kari, who of course also teaches for your Conscious Lab, who's a friend of mine, and also I interviewed her a long time ago actually on the podcast. But she was mentioning you, and I went to your website, and I have so much respect also, but also the way you're saying that you're responding to whatever's happening in your life, and then you recognize like, okay, something has to be done here, and then you go do it. I mean, I think many people are like, I need to do something, but I'm still puzzling, still looking for things. So, because I do think, and I don't know, like, do you feel there's a lot of competition for you as well? Because there's many platforms now, right? Because of what happened. We're all online.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the competition is completely changed, or the game has completely changed. And I'm trying to, and when I tell people I have an online yoga platform, they're like, oh, okay, and so does everyone, And then I'm trying to explain, but it's not just. So I think what makes it different, and I think that's kind of what you're asking. What makes it different is exactly what you said, the fact that you can speak to our coaches. We're very, if you're watching a YouTube video, you can't speak to that beautiful yoga teacher on the beach, she's not probably going to answer your questions. So we try and have a very human connection, and we have a community event once a month where people can ask their questions and speak to the people. So that's different. And then the other thing that I'm trying to, and this is the thing that I feel is missing a little bit, and I'm still trying to figure out how to communicate this exactly, but a place that is somewhere between very very spiritual, in the sense where people are a bit nervous that they're going to lose their identity. I get this a lot. They so worried that if they start doing yoga, that immediately they'll look different, they'll sound different, they'll join a community cult somewhere in the woods, and lose their touch to reality, and nothing will be important to them anymore. Only connecting to the divine and super consciousness. And I mean, you and I both know that doesn't happen immediately. But there is this fear. And then on the other extreme, so just speaking about competition, on the other extreme, there's the super sport, totally ignoring the history or the philosophy or whatever, the depth of yoga, and really just taking the asana practice for sport, which is exercise, which is fine. And I'm trying to create something in the middle that's rooted in tradition, because I do value tradition, that's rooted in tradition, that's rooted in deep philosophy, but really making it for real people. So there's a lot of laughter, there's a lot of humor, there's a lot of we just don't take it that seriously, and at the same time we take it very seriously. And that's what I'm trying to create. So basically, your yoga is not your identity. You don't come to yoga because you're looking for another image or another identity. And that's, I think, kind of an important distinction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. No, 100%. I'm with you. No, for sure. And I think that we all, especially when we started as well, like we all think that that's what it is. Like, oh, but I just came from teacher training. I need to do more practice. Or I still have that, when I, like last night I was so tired and I was like, oh, I can't do this class. And I was like feeling all guilty about it. Like, no, but I have to practice. And then I look in my diary, but I practice class. And no, but I mean, like I didn't for 2 days. I mean,
What kind of yoga teacher are you? Like,
exactly.
Oh my God. Yes.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really good, my co-host is really asleep now. I'm
he's not participating. He's not getting his check today.
So cute. You guys are supporting, but so there, if anybody hears some snoring in the background, it's just my co-host. My co-host falling asleep. No, but what I find really also another thing where I thought it was so brave of what you're doing, and I think it's really amazing what you're saying, is doing it because there are so many other platforms going on. Like, I mean, I felt and I would love you to talk a little bit about how you felt personally about this, because when it first started, and unfortunately I was teaching at an IRL studio that had to close because of Corona, and it's super sad, of course, but it was inevitable, and I knew it was going to happen. But I was very lost, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then you are this, I was new in Amsterdam, didn't know a lot of people. And I was like, well, where am I going to get students from? And, thank God a few people were online and they were happy to do the Zoom classes, but I felt extremely lost. And I felt like I was like a fish in a very big ocean, and I just didn't know. And I felt invisible, so what do you do in that sense then, to even get that kind of, like to just go, okay, I'll go start this platform and hopefully people will come. Like, how was that for you? Like, did you already have a following of people who you knew would come to Conscious Lab, or how was that?
I didn't know that they would. And I think the way I tend to operate and have always operated in my life is I have an idea and I'm very quick to do it. And it fails. A lot of my ideas fail, really, like absolutely. And I just have the kind of I don't know if it's the courage or the stupidity. Exactly. I think you need a bit of both.
Yeah.
So, okay, that didn't work. Now this. That didn't work, now this. That didn't work, now this. And then eventually something works. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's okay. Because for me, and it's probably anxiety driven, I can't not do something. Like, I don't know how to just sit and be like, oh, well. And I don't think of, and this is what makes working with me a little bit difficult, actually, probably why I work alone, is because I tend to not think things too much.
Yeah.
Because if you think of all the potential problems, I mean, you just do nothing.
They're going to do exactly.
So I tend to just try and see what sticks. I will tell you this though, there were times where, and I still feel like that sometimes, and I'm sitting on the call and 2 people would show up, and I think 16 years of teaching yoga, and I'm sitting here with 2 people coming to my yoga class. Like, where did I go wrong?
But it's also living in that reality now, right? Like, this is the reality, it's not, and it's not personal. Like, it's not because you are not an amazing teacher and you don't have all that years of experience. It's just, this is what you're providing now. This is where it's at, kind of thing. And that's also, and I think it's also, you remind me very much of this quote that you have, is like, you only fail if you stop trying. So you just do it over and over and over again, and and you have these ideas, and also the courage to know, like, might fail, but I'm not gonna sit here and do nothing. I'm just gonna do something, and then I'll see if it works or not. And I mean, I definitely, all through the corona time, have been there, like, oh, I'll do this workshop, oh, it's not working, oh, maybe this, no, it's not working. And I think what I feel from you also, and also the emails that you've been sending to me, like, oh, like, oh, things are changing a little bit again, is very much responding to the moment. And I think that that's really a very important skill to have. And I guess you have an advertising background as well, right?
I do, but I feel like it was so long ago. I'm completely useless now, and especially now the world is so different, the landscape is so different in social media, and yes, I have someone else rather to do that. But I hear what you're saying, and it's interesting for me to hear you reflect that I'm always reacting, or very often reacting to the moment, and I think that is where my strength is. Where I'm not good is the planning, the patience, the planning, the and I would love to, and it's starting to happen now, I'd love to get into a position where I can stop reacting and be a little bit more strategic. But I think that skill has been needed in the last 18 months, and it was something that I had. Yeah, that's true.
And then you have what you're saying as well, you have the absolute sort of good fortune of having great people around you who are good in they are good in the planning, they are good in the patience, and like, I think it's also very much about coming together and knowing, like, okay, I'm good at this, you're good at that, let's get together and like, help me get this this platform up, because it's difficult to do it all by yourself. And
oh my god, it's impossible. Impossible. And the 2 people that I have that are really helping me on this are incredible. They totally get it. They work with me. They know. It's amazing. I'm so grateful for them every single day. Because that's not easy to find people that complement or work together or understand what you're trying to do.
No, who can kind of read you as well and just understand, and don't need many words to sort of, and that's, I mean, because definitely when you go, and of course we put it in the show notes, and everybody should come to the Conscious Lab and see, because it looks extremely professional, and also what I think also is nice is, I think many of these platforms just have the one thing, whereas you have a very wide variety of what you're offering, and even what you asked me to do, like, do whatever you think feels good, and kind of be very open to I think people there's so many people, and they all have such different interests. It's nice to have a wide variety of offers. What's
well, exactly, and to see, maybe it's true. I mean, I'm so excited to have you. Really, I can't wait to have a conversation after this. Exactly, but the realm of consciousness is accessible through so many different ways. We've got one coach doing chair yoga, adaptive yoga for people that are not able-bodied and don't have like flexible yogi bodies. Like And I love that. But they can still access a deep connection to their bodies, to consciousness. It might be through what you're doing, through activism, through how they eat. They become very much more conscious of what choices they're making, and trying to find touch points for people to access this realm in a way that also looks fun. That's also cool. That's like just relaxed and easygoing as well, and not like, oh my goodness, the fun is over, let's get conscious. And I think you embody that really, really well. I mean,
thank you.
Your lifestyle is like, when I first heard, I was like, seriously, like really no coffee. But you don't look like you're suffering.
No, I'm not suffering. Not suffering because of no coffee. No. But for you, like, thank you so much for that, because I'm also very excited about it. But I think that, it's also about, like, if I ask you, what does the word conscious mean to you? I mean, what is it? What is it for you personally?
Well, I first started with what it's not, which is not a morality. And I think that's really, really important. It's about making choices from an informed place, an awake place. So it's not your habits. It's not your negative habits, rather. It's not habitual. It's not like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. It's like, you really make the actions. And even if they're bad actions, you say, I'm consciously now going to do this thing that I know I'm not supposed to do. That's a better action than doing something good because you don't even know why. Like, in my mind, it's better to make every action conscious, even if it's naughty or bad or something. Yeah, just more awake.
Did you find this knowledge really through 16 years ago, this yoga came into your life and you got more conscious, or were you already on the path?
No, I definitely came into, I would say, the realm of consciousness or awakening quite early, I guess, like in my early 20s. Usual story, bad breakup, didn't understand the meaning of life. What? I just have to go to work every day and work in advertising. And I was like, well, I don't care about anything. And what does it all mean? And then I went to my first yoga class and something just immediately started shifting. And then from there, it's just been one step, and I've always been obsessed. I'm just completely obsessed with different realms of consciousness. I'm obsessed with peak experience. I consider myself a collector of experiences. I used to have this motto, like, I do anything for the story. I don't do it anymore because I've got a little bit more boring and responsible, but
at least consciously, you got conscious.
At least consciously boring, exactly. Boring. Exactly, absolutely, that's right. So it's, for me, it's like the greatest love of my life, and the longest relationship I have is one of constant seeking and exploration and deeper states of consciousness.
And do you feel like, in your experience all these years as well, and you, as you said, you had a studio and you've done so much in it, do you feel like people really need it? They want to be more conscious? Is this happening?
I feel, there's this big word, this meaning and purpose, which two words also have a lot to say about, but I find this is such a need. People are waking up like, they realize that the path that they were set on is kind of a lie. Like, it's not bringing them the happiness they thought it would. Either at the beginning of that, so like the younger people are looking at the path that their parents, and they're like, that doesn't look like a great idea, and they're sort of stuck at the meaning level before, or at the end of that cycle, where they're like, I did everything right, shit, I still feel a little bit empty. There's this, what does it all mean? What is the purpose? How do I be happy? And I think we're beyond desperately still needing that. Desperately needing that. I don't know, is that your sense also, really, right?
I think it's a really good point also what you're making about, like, purpose and meaning, because I think that's definitely the silver lining of the Corona time and the pandemic time, is people woke up like, whoa, like, then if not this, then what? Like if this is not what I'm doing, then I think that for many people it was also a shock or sort of like wake up call of like, I need to do things that have more purpose or something. People that were in a job that they hated, and then actually, no, I'm going to do this now, and I do think also, I do feel that because of Corona, like even I see it with myself, I see with lots of people, even just talking about like your financial situation is become more okay now, like to just say to people like, yeah, I have no money, would normally be a bit of a like, oh shit, like I'm so embarrassed. But now it's like, I have no money because I'm struggling, like we all are.
It's true.
And I find that there's, so much more openness now about even that is an okay thing to say now, like,
you're absolutely right. I wasn't actually aware of that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It was a real topic, and people were suddenly able to be honest about that. And it's kind of like the shift of responsibility. Oh, well, it's not only my fault, maybe a little bit of relief in that.
Yeah. Or kind of, and knowing that we are all in it together, and like if someone says to you now, like I really don't have the money, and it's like, you understand it because it's like, yeah, of course, oh yeah, this situation has been very difficult. I mean, when I see yoga studios thriving, or there's this studio here in Amsterdam that I've been to a class a few times, and it's always full. I nearly get emotional. I'm like, oh my god, she has a yoga studio that's still doing it, like it has been so extremely tough on everyone, but specifically on in our bubble, in our realm of yoga and spaces and all that kind of stuff. So and I even had that when I saw Conscious Lab. I was like, oh wow, this looks amazing. I'm so happy that this is happening. I'm happy that it's obviously going well, and people are responding to it, and people are in it, because I think it's two ways. It's important for you, but it's also important what you're giving to people in a time where, in this time where we are shifting so much and there's so much going on. Because I really was like, even when we first started Zoom classes, speaking of the financial situation, I was like, man, I'll do this for free. People need yoga right now. And I've always felt that yoga, especially teacher trainings, I think both you and I have done a Jivamukti teacher training, which is extremely expensive, and I know it's worth it, but it's still, to me, sometimes like, man, I wish it was more accessible to people who really need it, and who should really become teachers, who can never afford to go. I find it same with yoga classes. I'm like, just because you're in some fancy place, like, I mean, I wish it was more accessible, because you get a better representation of yoga and what it truly is, so I get that.
No, that's absolutely right. And I think the internet and this whole online thing has made it now extremely accessible for people. I mean, absolutely free. And I think the role that I also see the Conscious Lab playing, just in terms of all of that whole soup of so many offerings, is it's exactly. It's quite, you look like you do that a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I do. It makes it a lot, yeah.
Is to kind of be a place of credibility where you can also go to find the quality, because I think that's also, and I think I would have loved that, certainly in my own experience, like how do you find the experience, the quality, the people that are, because you can also get quite misguided and misled along the way. And I've had some people say, yeah, I tried yoga, it wasn't for me. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, like, where were you doing it? Yeah, like here on YouTube with some. And I was like, okay, but yeah, maybe you need to find someone with a bit more experience, and who led through the process properly and held, and then
find a good teacher.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of, I'd like to try and sift through that for people and have a touch point. But I do hear what you're saying. I also had that instinct immediately when COVID hit to say, oh, okay, let's do this for free. It was interesting to watch everyone have that response. Actually, yoga teachers were like, oh, I'm like now online and I'm offering this and this and this.
Yeah. I mean, it's not to say that it should be, because I definitely think that, to come back to the whole financial situation, I sometimes feel especially when I first came back from teacher training, people were expecting like donation classes or like free classes. I'm like, do you know how much I paid for my teacher training? Like,
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
this is my job, you know, like
Yeah.
it's not what I do fully for a living, but I do make my living because of it. You know, I can't
Yeah.
just put on free classes for everyone, you know, but I find it important to give back and to pay it forward. And, you know, there is times where, and for specific communities, I would always make an exception because I feel that they need it, you know. So,
Yeah.
and I find that we are still really discriminating specific communities in our yoga world, you know, and I don't think that's okay. So in that sense, I definitely feel, but because there's definitely something to say for you don't have to do it for free, of course, because you know, we are skilled teachers who actually, you know, we were taught something, and we put all our kilometers, hours of work in, you know, to be where we are now. I mean, I definitely feel that for me as well. Like, man, you know, I mean, I'm halfway where you are, grandma, but you know, like 8 years, but you know, I definitely feel I get better and better at it, and I want to be paid for it, you know, and because I know, and also, I mean, we spend a lot of money on our training, and then more training and more workshops, and traveling and going there for that teacher and going there for that teacher. So I
No,
definitely
absolutely. I mean, I don't really know where this comes from. Well, I think I do, but why is it that the yoga profession has been singled out as the ones that are meant to save the world exclusively? You know, when you ask a lawyer, well, you know, there are many communities that need legal advice for free.
yeah yeah
But no one's saying to the lawyer, can you just give me some advice for free, please? Could you just like, you know, write up this contract because it's so enjoyable for you, you know, because, you know, it's very expensive to be, you know, and it's like, yeah, no one says that to a lawyer, but somehow the yoga teachers who are not earning what the lawyers are earning are somehow also meant to somehow pick up the rest of the world. So I really would like to take that completely off the table. And, you know, when I have put people through teacher training and they're asking me about pricing and how much they should charge, I'm very, very quite hard on them actually, and say, if you undercharge, you're undermining every other yoga teacher that's trying to make a living.
100%.
Yeah.
It's the same. Like, I'm of course also a chef. It's the same with chefing, where I'm like, it's like, oh, I had another chef who was going to do it for that. Yeah, well, maybe they're idiots, you know, like that's not my problem.
Hire them.
Idiots, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But that is interesting though, because I feel that underpricing really comes from a place, well, definitely from a place of not being conscious, but also from a place, and I think I see a lot of women do it specifically because we feel like we're always like, no, it's, you know, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe it's too much, or maybe, you know, whereas I feel like I get more and more in my power now as well. And it took me a long time, that process of like, actually, no, I'm not gonna do it for this money because it's ridiculous what you're asking, you know. And knowing your labor, knowing your hard work, knowing all your experience, you know, I think that, and I find it so, I mean, I loved our conversation also very much about that. And also I've had some other, fortunate enough to be working for some amazing studios here in Holland as well, where I really feel I'm being appreciated, and and I feel worthy, you know. It's like, wow, these really make me feel worthy. They make me feel like, yeah, you know, of course we're going to pay you this because, you know, you're great in what you do. And you're like, it's like kind of like a relief of like, yay, you know, like more people understand it. But it's definitely something that I face every day, sort of like.
Absolutely, as a woman, for sure. If we were two men sitting here, we would not even be having this conversation. Exactly. And that's just a fact. It's just a fact.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is true. But yeah, I find it amazing. I can speak to you for, you know, 3 more hours, but I'll round it up a bit. I found it amazing what you're doing, and I think it's like what you were just saying about like, am I an idiot or am I just really brave? I think, you know, it's definitely very, very, very brave what you're doing, and having these amazing ideas. And I truly hope that Conscious Lab will, you know, evolve into, you know, bigger and bigger things for you. And I think you definitely are doing an amazing service to people, because we still need it. People still need it. People still, you know, need that lifestyle and consciousness, and getting more conscious is an important thing,
Yeah, thank you very much, and it's very, very nice to hear you say that, and it's a good reminder. So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah,
thank you
for sure. And I mean, everybody listening, just go to this podcast. Like let's do a little promo over here, Cherryl. How can people join? What are the prices? How does it work?
Okay, so you get 2 weeks for free when you sign up, and you just create an account, go to theconsciouslab.com, and access sessions. It's really easy, and then you just join up, sign up, and you get your 2 weeks free. And then after that, see if you like it. I also give away vouchers and give people 1 month access as well.
Yeah.
And also feedback, tell us how you enjoy it, what do you want to see more of. By the end of September, we'll have about 13 coaches. So my vision is to have something happening from 6 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So anytime during the day, you can log in, and see something happening.
And I also think that the commitment is very casual and low, in the sense that you can just pay for a session. Like there's no like, oh, I need to have a monthly fee or all the kind of stuff. Like
exactly. You can you can pay. You can just go for a day pass and drop in whenever you feel like. You sign up for the month.
That's really great. So please, listeners, do this. I'm excited. I'll be on it soon too, and I'm excited that we're gonna work together, Cherryl. It's gonna be amazing.
Me too. I can't wait. Cool.
I hope some of these listeners will join, and you know the drill, people. Be good to yourself. Be good to others, especially the animals. And thank you very much. And my co-host is still asleep. You want to say something, Sparky? No, you're okay.
Sparky is a little bit less Sparky.
He's like not so much Sparky right now. Guys, thank you for listening. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you all so very much for listening to Go For Your Life. I really appreciate it. And if you liked it, you know what to do. Please leave a review, leave a comment, share it amongst friends, do whatever you can do to support me and this podcast, because it is my life. Thank you very much, Miguel, for doing the editing. Thank you so much, Maria, for your beautiful designs. Thank you, Sparky, for being the best co-host ever. Thank you, animals worldwide, for your daily inspiration to keep me going, for always putting that fuel in me. Thank you so much, because we know the drill, right? Namaste, vegan. Go, go, go.